Okay, so it's gonna be teaching grammar, and there we go. So I just today in the morning I put this review just to see. Probably, I'm sure that some of you were not able to be here last class. So here, what do you remember from the last session? Anybody who remembers something from last session who would like to share? What do you remember from the last session? Who was here last session? Carla, what do you remember from last session? I remember you were connected. I'm sorry. Yes. You know what I was going to ask you. We don't hear you, Carla.
Well, I was checking my notes, but it is about lesson planning, to set objectives,
Hmm.
um, to model. Um, it's, I was checking, I was checking my notes.
Yes, yes.
I
Don't
remember
worry. Thank you.
an overview,
Okay.
general idea. So
Hmm.
let's.
Good, good. Let's see. How many classes you didn't plan this week? Anybody who would like to talk about this? Who are teaching this these days? Because high school teachers probably are on vacations, but I'm sure that some of you teach at institutes or are freelance teachers like me. How many of you didn't plan any lesson for this week? Anybody? Anybody? Let's see. Erika Margot, did you plan all your classes for this week? Erika, are you there?
I'm here. Can you tell me again, please? It's about the
Ah,
lesson
yes,
plan.
yeah, yes. How many classes you didn't plan this week? You
Only
didn't, huh? By any reason?
uh, didn't
Hmm.
because it's only uh, have some any strategies. Didn't plan.
I
Didn't,
cannot hear you very well. Can you repeat, please?
didn't plans about any strategies in the lesson plans.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh. Why you didn't plan, Erika?
For example, in the writing or or depending on situation.
Okay,
That
okay.
since the student couldn't understand about this test is very problem for some student depending on situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Let's see. Alejandro, are you there?
Yeah, teacher.
Alejandro?
Good afternoon, teacher Christian. Yeah, I am here, teacher.
Hello, Alejandro. Are you teaching these days, Alejandro?
Uh, yes, I have just a class teacher, but I didn't plan to be honest because I have all the program already. Yeah,
Oh, good. So you only
that's
remember
why.
your classes. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just
good. That's good.
remember that. But that's okay, teacher. I remember that, for example, the last class that we had, you mentioned, for example, the smart objectives and what's
Mm-hmm.
important to plan. All those themes or topics, yeah, remind me always that it's important to plan the class, teacher. But I
Mm-hmm.
am being honest in this moment. I didn't plan anything.
Good, good. Yes. Well, yeah, if you have your lessons already planned, I think you only review them. That's good. And that's also thanks to technology. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Okay,
Isabel,
teacher.
Isabel, are you there? Isabel Ocola, are you there?
Yes, teacher.
Mm-hmm. Ah, good to see you. How
Hi.
many classes you didn't plan this week? Honestly, yeah.
Uh, I plan all my classes.
Wow, that's good. So you're a very good teacher. That's good. That's good. I'm happy that you're planning your lessons. Okay. Isabel, what teaching Lexis activities you saw last week are you planning to use in your classes? For
Because I
example, I refresh your memory a little bit. In my classes, I am using the vocabulary box because I told you that I have old ladies who are applying for visa, and as they are old, they have problems with memory. So I'm using from the box, I'm using the vocabulary box. What of the strategies we saw are you planning to use in your next classes, Isabel?
what I do is first a review of the last class.
Mm-hmm.
Later
Good.
depends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In some classes I have to start with vocabulary. In some classes I have to start with grammar. Depends on that. I but I make many, how do you say it? I forgot the word. I try to play a lot in my class with my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. With kids, it's necessary, not necessary to play, but change very the activities like 10 minutes from 10 minutes. I have facing that problem because in the morning I'm teaching two sisters. The older doesn't have problems. He can pay attention because she's older, but younger, she gets distracted. And for me, it's being difficult because I cannot make too many activities or too much fun activities because the older gets bored. If I get my class like the older one, then the younger is, I am bored, she says. So it's kind of disappointing. I don't know where I will be balancing between these two sisters. So, and well, that's good. I'm sure that for most of you we are refreshing some strategies and things. Okay, so there we go. Our learning objectives today are going to be identify some theory about teaching grammar. As you know, I never like to be that theory boy. I don't like that. And then we're going to analyze some examples of grammar teaching and then make our lesson plans. I hope we can make it fast. If not, we simply jump. As I told you, I would like to get at least to the 4 skills. So you will get the 4 skills plus grammar plus vocabulary. So those are our objectives. Oh, sorry. And then, okay, first we're gonna see is teaching specific aspects of language, explaining meaning, explaining language construction, the difference between practice and freer practice, examples of presentation, lesson planning. Let's jump into it. Here, I'm sure that most of you know this. What are the deductive approach and the inductive approach when you teach grammar? I'm sure most of you probably have studied even more than me. You remember that this is a sharing time, basically. Who knows what's the difference between these two ones? Anybody? Somebody who would like to raise his or her hand? What's the difference between inductive and deductive approach in terms of teaching grammar? Nobody? Okay, basically these two approaches are different because in the deductive approach, you will explain to the students directly what the grammar is about. It's basically more for adult learners or people in general that have more for the left hemisphere of the brains, the ones that we usually think that are the very respectful, the guys that have organized the weekend, they have this more like very geometric structures in their minds. And remember that we all, as we grow older, our minds like get that one, that thing. For example, when I teach my old ladies classes, adult learners usually like this whole thing, yes? The subject, the verb, and the complement, and they like those boxes. That's the way I teach the old ladies for the visa interview. And probably if I studied, well, I studied German, but if I had the chance to go to an institute, probably I would like to choose also that strategy because as we grow older, we like that. On the other hand, the inductive approach is when you let your students discover the grammar. Mhm. For example, there's example to go over interjections for thinking time to buy. For example, we play a conversation one, then we play again, but giving the students the script of what is being said. The students should identify expressions as I mean, and the same. For example, if you are teaching the simple past, you can give the students a text of one anecdote of somebody's experience, and then you can the students say to the students, okay, underline the structures with a simple past. That is the inductive approach. In the inductive approach, you don't explain explicitly to students how the grammar goes. You simply let your students to pick that grammar, and that's the way I'll teach the two sisters in the mornings, for example. Especially in last class, I was very surprised because the young girl didn't want to do anything. She got bored. I was basically working with the older one. And then we had like 8 minutes left. And I think that she said that she was bored, but I asked her to make examples. I asked questions. She brought a book that I didn't expect. And I started making yes no questions, which was my grammar objective. Incredibly, the kid responded all correct. So you see, while the older one, she was explaining, she wrote the examples in colors, everything. The younger one was there, very bored. But then in less than 8 minutes, she answered all my questions. So I was very happy. But that's the difference. Basically, what deductive and inductive approaches are. We're gonna see some examples here. Oh, here. Okay, I would like your participation. As a teacher, I get bored when only the presenter speaks. Blah blah blah. Check that chart. What is this? Is this inductive or deductive?
The second one, teacher, the that because it's starting with grammar.
Deductive. Exactly. Who's speaking there?
Me, teacher Alejandro.
Ah, Alejandro. Huh? Thank you, Karin. Thank you, Isabel. That's very good. Uh-huh. And we're gonna see another example here. Here. Oh, I made my best to have more quality in my pictures. I think that when I present, the quality reduces. Here, it says, read the next paragraph of the Red-Headed League, underline the phrases that draw conclusions. What's this? Inductive or deductive? Inductive. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Paloma. Thank you. Thank you. That's very good. So that is, this is theoretical part. Explaining meaning. There are many ways in which you can explain meaning. Remember that this is overlapped with vocabulary lexis that we did last class. For example, showing pictures. You have to teach, for example, for kids, apple, you show the picture of an apple. Cow, you show the picture, yes? Or you can mind the actions also for the grammar. If I am teaching the future, I will point towards, yes. In the future, I will. In the past, doing mimics. As I told you, it also works for vocabulary like running, or even for present continuous. I am running, I am writing, I am reading, miming, drawing pictures. Drawing pictures there, for example, you see there is a timeline. Which grammar structures can you teach with this timeline, for example, that you have there in the third example? What grammar structures can you teach? Karim, thank you. Past tense. Yeah. What else?
Present perfect.
Present perfect. That's right, because you say it started in the past, it may continue in the present, and it might continue in the future. Present perfect. What else can you teach? Thank you, Paloma. hmm Thank you, Carla. Future, yes. Past perfect too, which is kind of complex because it is like Selvatic English. From the past is its past, the very past of the past. That's the past perfect. List vocabulary items, for example, caring professions. For example, what can be caring professions? It's a group of words. Conditionals, thank you, Jonathan. What professions can be caring professions? Moral verbs, thank you, Erika. What jobs can be caring professions? Thank you for your camera on, Jacqueline. I really appreciate it. Let's make something easier. For example, if I say potatoes, lettuce, radish, what else? Potatoes, lemons, radish, beets, carrots. What is the group? What is the name of that group of foods that I am speaking?
Vegetables.
Vegetables. The same you can use for fruits, yes? You can give names of fruits. For example, you can say strawberries, bananas, oranges, fruits. In this case of caring professions, what can be caring professions? Nurse, doctor, social worker. Thank you, Karim. That's right. And that is another that pays more attention, obviously, to vocabulary. And there is an end there, translations. But you know that translations, well, depending on the context, sometimes translations are not a good idea. And I found this on you're going to find this on the Jeremy Harmer book that Steve has already given to you. Explaining language construction. In this part, in learning language construction, you pay attention, basically is more for adult learners and for the ones who like the structures. Yes, for example, if you want to teach the present perfect tense, you give them the structure. Subject plus the auxiliary and the past participle. That is the positive sentence, the negative sentence, subject plus have not, and the past participle. For example, I have not tried sushi. In the question, you start with the auxiliary, then the subject, and then the past participle. Have you tried sushi? What other ways can you think about? For example, if you want to teach the present perfect, how else can you teach this one?
Uh, the grammar teacher or
Yes, the grammar.
structure, the structure.
Yes.
Maybe use you can use colors. No, one color for the subject, the other
Mm-hmm.
color for the
Mm-hmm.
auxiliary in this case, and the past participle.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. For example, if you are to teach the yes no questions intonation, yes no questions are rising intonation. How can you teach that? Using gestures, tables. What can you use for yes no questions intonation? How is the intonation for yes no questions? Yes, Isabel did it. Rising. And that's simple. Yes. If you teach, yes, that's a good option also, Karin. I appreciate that. Arrows. Yes, you can mimic with your hands, rising intonation, or you can use arrows, as Karin says. Or if you're gonna teach WH questions, it is down. And the arrows also you can draw on the board. Mhm. Then what else can you have here? Here, this is another thing of theory thing. What's the difference between control practice and freer practice? This is theory stuff too. Somebody? Thank you, Erika. Strong sound. Yes. Oh yes. Mhm. You can check those examples. What's the difference between control and freer practice? Karin?
A control practice involves an exercise that has a specific answer, but the free practice it's very open. You know, students have the chance to create, to imagine anything they wanna they about the task they're given.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, thank you. That's very good. Control practice, yes, are very focused. Okay, Carla.
Well, for control practice, the time is a slower production. The students that they have is a slower production. In contrast to the freer practice, the students are more independent, and the conversation of the activities are more spontaneous.
Thank you, thank you. Totally right, Carla. In control practice is very focused practice. Basically, activities like complete, listen and complete, match, those things. Control, very control. They don't have much. Students don't have much space to to solve. There is only one or two right answers. That's it. Freer practice, as Carla says, it gives the students more freedom. As we can say, they are given a conversation, and then after that, they will have to put their real names and other objects. Is something that is a little bit freer. Remember that in the freer practice, it's crucial for us, the teachers, that students are having the freer practice. And if you notice that something is going wrong, probably in your presentation, uh, well, unfortunately, you didn't get the students' attention, so students are not grasping that grammar structure correctly, or probably because the students are having problems, anything that could have happened. But during the freer practice, you should pay special attention. So if you notice that in the freer practice, the students are not doing a good job, you can go back. You can re-explain it. If it is really important, you feel disappointed, explain it again. Or you can say, and that happens with my other class, I have students who are applying want to apply for a master's in the United States, it has happened twice with that group that I told them, honestly, I'm not happy with what you're saying, what you're doing. Let's redo it. Or probably it's not simple also a matter of saying redo it, it's bad, it's wrong, it's not that. Probably you have to adjust. For example, when I face very difficult grammar structures, I use the examples that are written on the book, and according to the situation you give them, you can tell them, okay, you are not able to make a sentence by your own, use the sentences that are written on the book and change some more words. For example, in the book says, yeah, let's make a basic example. The food is delicious. Yeah, let's imagine that is hard for the students, can make it. So, okay, the food is delicious. Okay, you cannot make a sentence by your own. So that sentence is on the book. The food is delicious. Take delicious out and put another adjective. The food is awful. Okay, at least it's something freer. So freer practice is very crucial. If you notice, you go back because after the freer practice, it comes the activation where the students are totally free. So if you simply do the control practice, you don't pay attention to the freer practice, and you want the students to go straight to the activation of the grammar, then probably in the grammar activation is going to be a problem. So this is crucial. Yes, Jose Noel, do you have something to share with us? Jose, we don't hear you. Okay, let's keep working. Examples of presentation. Oh, that is from the third book. I don't remember the author. In the third book, for example, I'm going to clean, tomorrow I'm going to clean my house. Next Saturday, I'm going to have classes. Look, the structure is verb to be plus going to and infinitive. The verb to be more students. In the first example, tomorrow I'm going to clean my house. What is the verb to be there? Then it's going to, and then it's going, and then the infinitive. What is infinitive here?
Clean.
Clean,
Clean. Thank you to clean. In the second example, what is the infinitive? Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Karine.
have,
You have.
have.
Have. That is the structure. So you presented the structure, you emphasize on the structure, be going to plus infinitive. It should be going plus infinitive. Here, the two is it should be erased there. So be going plus infinitive, okay? And then after you give the students the structure, you can elicit some examples from the students. For example, Carla, what are you going to do tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow I am going to cook and to visit my mom.
Thank you. Jacqueline, what are you going to do tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, I'm going to go to a church.
Thank you. That's one example of presentation. This is more like for our learners. Another example here. It is hot here. I'm going to open the windows. So the teacher performed the actions. For example, now my windows are open because that gives you more visibility of my face. But for example, later I can say the opposite. It's cold here. I am going to close my window so I can stand up and I can close my window. And that's a way that you really perform the action for the students. So now, for example, I can say it's dark here in my apartment. I am going to open the window and I open my window so students can see what you're doing. Or for example, the second, it's noisy outside and I'm going to close the windows. And you close the window, you perform the activity. That's another way to present. Is you don't show so much grammar structures there. This is another possibility for presentation. Check that picture and as I say to him, he's thinking about his vacations. I put them a picture of an airplane. What is he going to do? Isabel, what is he going to do?
So he's going to travel
He's
by
going to
airplane.
travel. You see, by plane. Mhm. Another possibility for the
He's
first question.
travel to,
Yes,
he's going to travel,
Erika?
he's going to travel to Paris.
He's going to travel to Paris. Oh, yes. Uh-huh. Using the second picture, probably he's going to travel to Paris. Uh-huh. In the third picture, we see some tickets there. What is he going to do again?
He's going to
Uh, yes,
he's going to buy tickets.
yes. Alejandro, did you have something to say?
Kind of similar, teacher. Maybe he's going to
Mhm.
book tickets, maybe.
Yes, she's going to book for the tickets. Yep, that's good. So those are some examples of presentations. So let's see. Were you able to download the materials that I sent, Steve? Raise your hands, the ones who were able to download the materials. You can raise your hands there with the platform. Nobody? Carla downloaded the materials. Thank you, Carla. Only one?
Teacher, excuse me, the books, how to teach?
Yes, I sent
Ah,
you. I'm using 3 books basically, but I
okay,
just chopped the books so you don't
I
need to
got
read
it.
all. Did you download, Isabel? Good. Isabel has. Anybody else has the books? Did you download the books? Alina, good. Only 3 teachers downloaded the book. Let me see. 4 teachers, 3 teachers downloaded the book. Okay. Well, I designed this session to be hands-on, to do your lesson plan, because last class I also sent you some models for grammar lesson, but that's okay because we don't have much time. I hope we can get to the to finish the 4 skills. Okay, we're gonna skip this slide. So thank you. Do you have any questions now about this of teaching grammar? Something, some problems that you're having? Probably we all can help you. Any questions that you have about teaching grammar? No questions, no doubts. Nope. We are ready for the next one. No questions. Okay, so we're gonna go to the next one. We're gonna hit now the 4 grammar, the 4 skills. Just a second. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, we're gonna do first teaching reading. Oh, for the teaching teaching reading, you will need to have the materials from your platform. Try to get the materials, please. Steve has already shown you how to download the materials. And anyway, we're gonna see if you can get the materials. If not, we can skip that part. Well, teaching reading. Let's see what I put here. Reasons for reading. A regular person. What can be his, her reasons? What could be his, her needs for reading in a second language? Any ideas that you have? Jacqueline?
I think to improve their vocabulary, oh, claro, vocabulary,
Totally
and
right.
to get new phrases. No?
Yep, totally agree with you. Anybody else? Alejandro?
Well, teacher, yeah. First, yeah, obvious that this activity is really important when you get new vocabulary, but also, but if you focus on, for example, as a teacher or as a English student, you can focus on find the grammar that you had already learned. Try to find the grammar in order to internalize those grammar. Well, I think that is one of the main reasons, or well, important to read, teacher.
Yes, 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 totally agree with you. Somebody else? As a normal person, as a regular person, what other needs do you have that you face the need? I need to read in English, but I don't know. Esther.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, reading is very important to reinforce, to, to improve the vocabulary, especially in the kids.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Any other ideas? Cesar Rojas.
Okay, teacher, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. Welcome. I remember you from last
Welcome.
class.
Yeah, teacher. I think, when we start reading, we have to choose easy vocabulary. And I think small paragraphs, something that really interests us, will help us achieve that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep. Thank you, thank you. And remember that most professionals feel the need for reading. Any profession that you have. You're a doctor, your last tendencies are in English, you're an engineer. As I told you last class, I had to translate an application from electrical engineers to a French companies, but none of them, because they are also my friends, none of them knew English. So I had to help them. They contacted me because of that, because we studied together, and the only one who knew English was me. So those are the necessities. And again, some more theory. Erika, thank you. It's very important the students try to understand a new vocabulary, phrases, and messages about the text. Thank you. Karin Espinosa, for students to focus on vocabulary punctuation. That's really important. That's really important, punctuation. Now that I am more devoted to languages, because honestly, as an engineer, you don't have good language mostly. But now, when I'm teaching those ladies, one of the ladies uses translators all the time. So she had a text in Spanish she wanted to translate, but it didn't make sense. Honestly, how punctuation is really important. On her text, I went to her computer. On her text, I added 2 commas and 1 period. And then the text became understandable. How important are those things of punctuation? So what you're saying, Karin, is really, really important. Punctuation. I also felt surprised. 2 commas and 1 period. The text was completely correctly translated. Okay, kinds of reading: extensive and intensive. Somebody who has ideas about this? what is extensive reading and intensive reading? Come on, guys, you can make it. I know that some of you know, or you can read them and you can tell me. Jacqueline.
Is in your free time, yeah, you read the books or the topic in another maybe in another books, or look at some information in the internet. But extensive is when you are not in class. And
exactly, extensive. The name says it extends.
And you read in your, maybe when you have a time, no? Free time.
Or because you like, yes. You can like magazines. Yes. And intensive, Jacqueline?
I think you have to read carefully. Maybe you have to focus in a particular information or something like this.
Yes. Thank you, Erika. Reading some information in subjects like news. Yes. Intensive is like more for the study. Carla, do you have something to say? Thank you, Erika.
Yes, well, I think extensive is just reading for fun or reading just for pleasure. But intensive is when looking for a specific information. Here in the curriculum, we have Plan Lector, and I think could be considered this as an intensive reading.
Thank you. Yes. Intensive reading are usually mostly supervised by teachers, right? Part of the class. That's good. Cesar, something to say?
Teacher, I think as ESO students, we should practice, so I think extensive should be good for us, because extensive means pleasure. That involves something that you enjoy reading. So I think that's, as ESL students, I think that's something that we should practice.
Totally agree with you. Again, to my example of these two sisters, for example, the younger got bored, and that was, well, that was good for me, and also it made me think about my classes with them. She wrote, her book was in English, but she's 6 years old, 7 years old. But I think her teacher is doing a good job because she had a book according to her age, a book, a very, very simple book, very attractive book. And she started reading that book. So that made me also think that probably I'm gonna, well, if I could keep teaching until March, probably with them, probably we will look for, but the teacher has to look for books that are attractive to the learners, not for you, but to the learners. So the burden for the teacher is that you will have to get information, what attracts these kids now, what kind of magazines, what tales that are very colorful, very interesting to them. So I was very happy that her teacher gave her, well, asked them to buy a special book. It was very, very attractive. And I think thanks to that book, I asked those questions that I told you some minutes ago. My questions were based on her book, and she answered perfectly. But if she wasn't given that book, probably my class would have been successful. There is something else. Erika says, intensive, must focus on the text like Romeo and Juliet, etc. Yes. Yes. So if you are teaching in high schools, probably, and of course, your students, your families can have the economical potential to buy some of those books that can be interesting to the kids. That would be good. Carla, something to say?
Yes, teacher. Well, here talking about readings, I think we can consider the motivation as well. For extensive reading, we have an external motivation. No, sorry, an internal, an internal motivation. For intensive, an external motivation.
Exactly. Can you give examples for them so probably the teachers can have more information, please?
Yes, for instance, and now as teachers, for example, in this moment, we are reading text because because we want to improve our lesson planning and etc. And so our teaching skills, and the motivation is internal. Nobody tell us or told us that we have to read or study. But for example, when we have a student, for instance, in the class, the students sometimes don't have the motivation to read the book. So they are motivated by the scores.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that is something I also notice in high schools. In any high school, even in Spanish, the adolescents now are asked to have books that are really attractive to them. And I was talking to my father because my father has many years teaching and training teachers. And I told him, I wish I could have been a kid now, because when I was young, all the books that my teachers used to ask me to read were Ciro Alegría y no sé qué de la serpiente dorada y no sé qué. ¿Y qué más nos hacían leer esas veces? Readings that didn't catch any attention from me, really. I would have been very happily reading if my book would have been with Transformers, for example. I would have read happily. But what do I know about Ciro Alegría? Who is Ciro Alegría? Ciro Alegría probably is the writer of my grandfather. It didn't catch any of my attention. So, as I'm telling you, and also Carla said, you have to take some time and find what, if your students are teenagers, probably BTS can be something. So you can ask them, okay, read this web page. If they don't have money to buy those fancy books, read this web page and then make a report, because of course teenagers would like BTS biography, for example, and that's a job for the teacher. You are not gonna be talking, for example, it wouldn't make sense if I say, okay, look for information about Backstreet Boys or New Kids on the Block. Who knows New Kids on the Block now? That's why I also said, who knows? In my case, I didn't even know who Ciro Alegría was, and my teacher asked me to read Ciro Alegría. No sense to me. So that is the way the teacher should find a way in which the students are interested in reading. That's the thing. So if you're teaching kids, what do kids are seeing now as cartoons? In my case, I asked her as a small girl, I asked her, okay, write your cartoons on a paper. I will plan my lesson with your cartoons, because I don't have any idea what kids are watching now as cartoons. And she mentions very difficult names that it made me remember the Minions language. I said, I don't understand your cartoon. that is a job for teachers, to provoke that the students are interested in doing extensive reading. Here, reading skills. Reading skills, I'm sure that you know, because when you were students, I'm sure that you were taught this one. What is a scan? Somebody? Yes, Jacqueline.
Scan is when you don't read all the text, but you see faster, or you read faster only for specific, maybe dates, names, or something.
Exactly. Telephone numbers, TV show times, news in the article. Exactly. Remember that scanning for the students who they want to know. Yes, I'm teaching also those old ladies, and I tell them there's an ability you need, especially if you are planning to study in other country in international English tests like TOEFL, IELTS. There are exercises like this, and the students do not have to read everything in detail. Only scan the article, you can make it in a minute. What's skimming? What's skim? Somebody? Somebody to explain what skimming is. Let's pick a name. Meletina, are you there? No. Monica Amao, are you there? Ayumi, are you there?
Teacher, excuse me. I think. Sorry, teacher, excuse me. I think a scheme is, for example, when you have a text and you, based on the title or a picture, you have to say about what could be the text.
Yeah. Is to get that general idea. Yes, the general idea. Thank you, Isabel. How, for example, you see a brochure about tours, and you don't have to read the complete thing, but of course, the text is going to be about the information about that city. Yes. But for example, as here it says, to run our eyes over a movie review, and you know what is it about. Yes, it's about what that movie is about. And finally, we have the reading for detailed comprehension is the activity, the ability to read for all the detailed information there, all the words. Of course, we're not talking about translate, but that you understand all single details. So those are the things. Remember that in classes, as teachers, we are supposed to make our students pick the ability of scanning and skimming in the future, and that is also what I was asked to do as a teacher, and I think I agree. You have to explain to the students, okay, we're gonna do a scanning. You ask your students to say really what scanning is. They will say a student to read very fast for specific information and give reasons. Why are you being trained with scanning? Because, for example, you have 40 kids. From the 40 kids, I am sure that probably 8 of them are going to take TOEFL or IELTS in some part of their lives. And when they are older, they are very, very thankful with his or her English teacher, because they will notice, oh, my English teacher was teaching me this when I was a kid. So my English teacher knows this, you see? And the same ability you have to provoke in your students is skimming. Those two abilities, basically. Let's keep working here. Reading principles. I think I don't remember about this. Let's see. Okay, to read as much as often and as much as possible. Yeah, that is something we should encourage kids. As I was telling you, find something that could be attractive for the students. Remember my example, When I was a kid, I didn't even have the faintest idea of who Ciro Alegría was. I didn't pay attention to my teacher, didn't want to read that book. But if I were given Transformers comic, I would have been very happy. I would have done all my homework, I swear. So you have to provoke that the students can read for pleasure. To respond to the context of the text, what can be context for the text? For example, context. When you teach the reading of a letter, that is a context. When you teach the reading, for example, of a complaint letter, for example, you bought something at Totus or Plaza B or something, and you have to, and the electronic thing is not working, so you write a complaint letter. That is the context of that. Match the text to the topic intensive reading. This is basically, the topics, what the reading is about, to match them. to be engaged with what they read. Yeah, we have already, it's almost close to what I told you, to students be attracted to what they are reading. Prediction is a major factor in reading. Somebody knows how prediction can make your reading more pleasure, more more pleasant. How prediction can make your reading more understandable. Anybody? Somebody has ever tried prediction to understand text better? Alejandro?
Maybe teacher, I don't remember very well, but I suppose that this is, for example, when you give any reading, maybe just to say, okay, try to read the introduction or check the pictures and images and try to imagine what is the story or what is the main idea about this reading. And they try to, yeah, try to to imagine and get maybe, some idea. And when they finally read, yeah, I suppose that is try to
Mhm,
to connect just
mhm,
their imaginations, just to flow with the reading. They try to enjoy. Maybe
mhm.
that I see,
Yes,
teacher.
that's right. Have you ever tried by yourself that technique, Alejandro?
Yeah, teacher. I usually do that actually. When, for example, I
For
check
you?
just the title. Yeah,
Hmm.
I read the title or maybe some images and try to figure
Hmm.
out what about.
Does it work for you?
Yeah, in some cases, yeah, teacher.
Yes,
That is
totally right.
enjoyable because I get it. Okay, I was at the end. I was okay. I was wrong, and that is like a challenge.
And you learn better. Hmm. Good. Then Cesar, you have something to say?
Yeah, teacher, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, like he was saying, my classmate was saying is that, by looking at the pictures or the photograms during the reading, you kind of guide yourself and follow yourself and kind of imagine what they're talking about. And with that, and when you get to the reading, you kind of know what's going to be about.
Hmm. Totally right. Meletina, something to say?
Good afternoon, teacher Lee.
Hmm.
It's a pleasure to hear you.
Thank you.
Well, in this case, reading has three stages: before reading, while reading, and after reading. When you uh,
Hmm.
when you show a book to our students, you use this first because it's very important. You see the picture
Hmm.
and you tell to your students, look at the book. What can you see in this book? What is the topic of the book? You make a question and the students make inferring in about this, and this is very
Hmm.
very important to start reading. I think so. Thank you.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yes, totally agree with you. I have tried it when I read for pleasure and I see, as Alejandro was saying, I see the pictures and I read the title and I try to ask myself what it's going to be about. That makes me learn or understand the story better than I simply go straight to reading. It's not good. The same happens when I read like readings for engineering or for teaching, and I first ask myself, what is this thing going to be about? It helps me to understand, honestly. So you can try it by yourselves, and for sure it's gonna work with your kids too. Also, good teachers exploit readings text to the full. Remember that you students are given a text, and you can make many things from that. You can get target grammar structures, you can get vocabulary, you can get pronunciation, intonation. So it's not a matter also to be giving students many different texts. Probably one text a month it would be good because you can exploit. You can chop your text and make many things with only one text. And it also will be good for recycling too. Stages for a reading lesson, as Meletina was saying, these are like suggested stages. But remember that in teaching, we don't have like the stone corner thing that the only one right answer. Meletina, do you have something else to say?
No, teacher, excuse me.
Okay, don't worry, don't worry. Yeah, as Meletina was saying, she mentioned a three-stage reading. This is also another possibility, like build interest, as we are saying, like ask for predictions. Well, now we have technology. You can ask videos. You can use videos. Pre-teach vocabulary, as we saw the other day, that I show you some examples of my Spanish classes that I teach these ladies some vocabulary, especially because we use tales from the Indian song, and some words are in Quechua, so I have to teach those words to, well, Wendy is my student, my Spanish student. Set gist for a scanning task, as we have seen. That is the first thing, scanning, skimming on that stage. Learners read or listen. You can read for them. Learners compare answers. Learners check answers with the teacher. I think comparing answers is very important because learners are more confident about their answers before they give you the answers. Set an intensive reading or listening task. Yep. Then learners read or listen. Learners compare. Okay, this is more for listening. Then let's check the answers with the teacher and set an extension activity, like probably can be a homework, can be for kids like draw a scenario of this other task. For more adult, for older students can be like get more information about this character or this other character, something that can make interesting for them. But as I'm telling you, it's not like, okay, I have to follow this structure. You can combine, you can add some other things here and here. Some suggestions for reading. Jigsaw reading. What is a jigsaw reading? Somebody? How jigsaws work? Anybody? Anybody who has an idea about jigsaw reading? Nobody? Okay. Jigsaw reading is when, for example, you are given, you have two students, student A and student B. A student A, for example, they have a task of discover the criminal, for example. A student A has some information about the crime, is not complete. A student B has some other information about the crime, but is not complete. The information that the student A has, the student B doesn't have, and vice versa. The information that the student B has, the student A doesn't have. That is a jigsaw. Each other do not have the information the other has, so they have to ask questions. So a student A needs this information, you see, take my camera, and a student B has that information. So the student A has to ask questions because student B has the information. Then the student B doesn't have this information, this piece of information, he will have to ask questions to the student A for that piece of information. It works like this. And then provokes questions there. That's a jigsaw. Can have many cases. The most popular is crimes, because they are detectives to find a criminal. They are giving a context, and that's a jigsaw. Reading puzzles. Reading puzzles is when you have, for example, a conversation. That's what I used to do when I was a new teacher. I used to photocopy the conversations. For example, I think there are conversations here. No, it was in the other presentation. Let's see if we have a conversation here. No, we don't have conversations here. Okay. Puzzles is when you have a conversation, for example, and you cut the conversations into small pieces of paper, each line of the conversation. You scramble the conversations and you give it each student, or they can work in couples, in groups, and they organize the conversations, yes, according to what they are, how they see the conversation. I was planning to use this with two sisters, but don't think they are going to make it. Their English is very, very, very low. Using newspapers, yeah, the name says it, newspapers. Following instructions, yeah. Basically, remember, when you have instructions, the students read and ask always your students to explain the instructions. It seems like, oh, okay, but why the teacher has to ask me to explain instructions? Honestly, in my group of who want to be prepared for TOEFL, they chose that they will be taught TOEFL in 1 more month. One of them doesn't have a good English level for TOEFL, and she's having problems explaining. So I had to tell her, look, I asked you to explain instructions because that is you're working on your reading skill, in your comprensión lectora. Was what I told her. If you don't have a good reading skill, no tienes comprensión lectora en el TOEFL, estás muerta. So remember, always ask your students to paraphrase instructions. That's important. Comprensión lectora, básicamente. Poetry, play extracts, yeah, things that the students have to act, things predicted from words and pictures, as we have mentioned, and different responses, yep. From readings and language is pretty different from mathematics. We have to tolerate different responses. And now we have exercises now. It says, please read the reading examples and put them into 3 groups according to the way in which they are likely to be read. It can be quickly, slowly, taking care with each word, type of information, etc. Let's make one example. Let's see. Let's ask somebody to explain instructions. Rocio, are you there?
Hi, teacher. Yes, I'm here.
Hello, hello. Okay, could you please explain instructions?
Okay. For exercise 1, please read the reading examples and put them into 3 groups according to the way in which they are likely to be read. Quickly,
words, please?
slowly, taking care with each word, type of information, etc. Okay. I think we have to read the reading examples, and we have to put into 3 groups according to the way in which they are likely to be read. No?
Yeah. Thank you. I don't see you, Rocio. Okay, so let's read. We are gonna read, okay? So nobody's left behind. Cesar, can you read the first 3 ones here, please?
Okay, teacher, give me a second. The 3 first lines. Okay, from Tracy is looking. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Tracy is looking for a number in a telephone directory. Rachel is reading the instructions on how to complete her tax return. Paul is writing his university dissertations and is looking for a quote he needs. He knows it's somewhere in chapter 7.
Thank you. I recommend that you take screenshots because we are gonna go on the next slide. We have, I think it's 3 slides. Don't remember pretty well. Paloma, can you read the 2 last ones, please? About Josh and Nicole.
Okay, teacher. John is glancing at an old letter from his insurance company to see if they can throw it away. Nicole is reading the direction of how to get her of her holiday destination.
Thank you. We are going take your screenshot. We are going to move to the next one. Here. Somebody who can read about Maria and Stephen, please. Karin?
Yes, Maria is flicking through a magazine while she waits for a dentist. Stephen is looking through the classified advertisements because he wants to buy a second-hand car for under £1,500.
Thank you. Somebody to read about Belinda and Richard? Jacqueline.
Belinda is reading a detective story which she's enjoying, although it has a complicated plot. Richard is in a bookshop and also is a hurry. And also in a hurry. He's looking at the back of a couple of paperbacks to see which one would make the best present for his girlfriend.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay. Here. So you have that, I think it's 9, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 9 people there. And categorize, please, into 3 groups. I give you a couple of minutes. I'm gonna turn my lights on and get the book too. I give you 3 minutes, okay? Until 6:26. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna turn my lights on. Okay, anybody remember that there are no correct answers? Mm, there are some suggested answers in the book that I also share with you, but you can categorize them in the categories you want. Anybody who wants to try it. Somebody. Yes, Karim?
Yes. I classified these readings in the way in the quickly way they're likely to be read. So I'm gonna do this the first one. So
Okay.
Tracy is looking for a telephone number. I think she will do this very quickly. Then Josh is glancing at the. Oh, I cannot see it. Josh is glancing. I don't know what's next.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Okay.
Maria is flicking through a magazine while she waits for the dentist. And then the one with Richard.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Another category that you had?
Well, the ones that are slowly.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one with Nicole. Nicole is reading the directions of how to get to her holiday destination. She would read that slowly, and then something. It's on the next page about Stephen. Stephen is looking through the classified advertisements because he wants to buy a second-hand car for under £1,500.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put those two in the slowly category.
Yeah. How about Belinda? Belinda is reading fast or slowly?
I think she'll be in the last category because it says three groups.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
What is your last category then?
Taking care with each word because of the type of information that is in it. So Belinda is reading a detective story which she's enjoying, although it has a complicated plot. I think in these detective stories they have some I don't know, different scenarios, different characters. Every character has a description. I don't know. I think you have to be careful when reading this type of information. Then,
thank you. And who else?
Rachel is reading this information about the text. She's going to do something. I think she has to prepare a tax report or something, and that is also a little difficult. And the one with Paul is writing a dissertation paper. So in this kind of paper, you have to quote, you have to look for the specific citation, and I think that he has to be very careful with this type of reading.
Thank you. Thank you. I like it. Yeah. Anybody else with another possibility of categorize these ones? Nobody? Okay. Let's jump into another exercise there. Exercises 2, it says, please read the situations and answer the questions. We're going to go one by one here. I'm going to read the first one. It says, imagine that Belinda is a teacher of an elementary class. She wants to develop reading skills and decides to give her learners an extract from her detective story to read. She doesn't write any questions, but thinks the students will enjoy it anyway. Question, do you think this is likely to be a successful lesson? Why or why not? Any thoughts? There are no right answers. Any comments are welcome. Yes, Alejandro.
I think it's not a good idea, teacher, because we need to answer what is the objective of this reading. So at least some questions in order to determine what is the way, or say what we want our students. That's why I think it's important to at least put some questions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and also the objective. Yeah, our objective is and some questions. Yes, Jack, welcome. Do you think this is
Teacher.
likely to be a successful lesson?
Well, I consider when somebody reads something that's an article, it's a reading, that it's important that for the teacher adds any questions maybe, because maybe is the students understand the reading and also they know the knowledge what they are talking about, they are reading or they are talking about. I think it's very important to ask questions for them.
Yes, yes. I totally agree with you guys. Let's work here. The next situation. Any volunteer before I get before my voice goes off? Somebody who could read the scenario.
I want to share it.
Okay, you can read about Stephen, please.
Stephen decided to use his classified advertisement in a lesson. He gives the learners and listens people who all wants to buy the specified things. The student must try to find what they need in that classified. Later, teacher, you can see the picture. Okay. Later, Stephen's friends Alice had to borrow the ads for her lessons. However, before giving out the ads, she asked students that sort of things may be advertised there. She then asked them if they have ever bought or sold anything in this way. She allowed the student to chat about this for a few minutes before completing the same task of Steve's use. Whose lesson is likely to be better and why?
Thank you, Jack. Okay, so you have some time to think about that. Some thoughts about that? Carla.
Well, teacher, I think I consider Alice's class will be more, sorry, will be more successful because she considers activities that are more engaging for the students. For example, the first one that she considers is that as the students, if they have ever bought or sold anything in this way. So now she is giving a general idea, so the activity wise, what's going on. And then the students, and the other activity, as she mentioned, she allowed the students to chat about this for a few minutes. And the last one, she considered the activity similar to Stephen. So in contrast to Stephen, that only considered just one activity, and that is not so appealing. The students could be confused or something like that.
Thank you. Totally agree with you, Carla. Let's go on the next one. Somebody who would like to read this case? Probably, Carla, can you read the case, please?
Okay. Robin and Nicole use the same reading activity with their classes. The learners read a text and answer some multiple choice questions. At the end of the activity, Robin nominates a learner and asks for the answers. Maria, what is the answer for number 1? And so on. Nicole does the same thing, but before doing this, asks the learners to compare the answers in pairs or small groups for a few moments. What are the advantages of Nicole's strategy?
Thank you. You have some time to think about your answers. Some comments from you? Anybody? Karim?
The advantage in Nicole's strategy is that she's using peer correction. So that means that when students have the chance to correct each other, they start seeing if their answers are the same or they're not. So when this happens, they start wondering, so why did you do this, or why did you write this answer or not? So they are starting correcting each other, and once they get to an answer, common answer, they will learn from one another, and I think that's better.
Yeah, totally agree with you. That builds confidence on the students too. Let's see. I think we have some more cases. Steven, Robin and Nicole. Nope. There is an example. Did you download your materials there? We will need this reading that I put on your materials about a cat. No? Yes, thank you, Alejandro. Anybody else? I think Alejandro, Carla, Isabel, they have gotten their materials. Anybody else who got materials? You can raise your hands. Karin too. Okay, so I think we're gonna have a glance. Okay, Tracy, thank you. Only 5. Okay. Well, basically, this is a story about how a cat saved her honors from fire, and because she made some noise and started teasing their owners for them to wake up because there was fire there. If that wouldn't have happened, probably his 2 owners would have dead. So they are very thankful for the cat alarm. That's basically the story. So in this example, first it says, first, think about which animals make the best pets. For example, let's ask somebody, Carmen Julia, for you, which animals are the best pets? Probably she doesn't have a mic. Cecilia Paola, Which animals are the best pets for you?
In my opinion, I think cats are the best pets.
Cats. Okay, why?
Because I like them a lot since I was a child. That's why. Sorry.
Similar to the reading. Okay. Then it says, look at the following dog, cats. Thank you, Erica. I like dogs better. Letter B, look at the following words: blaze, flap, cat flap, illuminate, from the
Teacher,
word, got it, the house. Yes, Jack.
well, in my opinion, when I was a child, I liked the dog, but now I prefer the cats because they are independent. They are
Oh yeah.
when you put his foot on the plates, and also they did alone. It's not necessary that also you has to stay with them a lot of time. And also, I think that he's independent. I prefer the cat.
Yeah, it's been years since I don't have a pet. Okay, but I like dogs. Okay, thank you, Jack. In the next stage, the teacher explains some words from the reading. You see, for example, what is blaze? Somebody, you can check your translators if you don't have it. What's blaze? You can write on the chat box if you found it. The context is fire, houses, pets. What's blaze? Thank you. I forgot your name, Jordan. I'm sorry. You can write it probably. Cat flap. What's that? Somebody? Thank you. What's cat flap? Check your translators. In this case, remember that if you are to teach these ones, probably you can use pictures, explanations, or you can use the meanings in English, as Carla is saying. A small dog, a small door for cats. Or the most basic is what I'm doing now, transport translations. A small hole, the door for pets. Nominate for an award. Well, I think everybody is acquainted with that. Gutted for houses. In the context of houses, what's gutted? Gutted for houses. Okay, desordenar. Let me check my. I think I remember another one. Let's see. Somebody else got something different? Repair a house. Mhm. Yeah, repair house. I think is much better for this context. Mhm. Thank you. So if you see, first the teacher is attracting a student's attention about his her pets. It is also like connecting with reality. Then the teacher is checking some probably the most difficult words. Then you are going to read a newspaper story called Fire Alarm. Consider a few moments what the story may be about. The teacher asks students to predict about the story. Then, when you're ready, read the article on page 140 very quickly, 2 minutes maximum. What's your prediction correct? So kids or the students check the predictions. Then a next exercise, look at the following numbers, 64, 62, 13, 5, find what they refer to as the text as quickly as possible. What strategy is here? Skimming, scanning, or read in detail. Somebody? These numbers are in the text. They refer to something. What can be the strategy here? Skimming, scanning, or reading in detail. For example, I'm going to read it. In the text says, Polly, a 13-year-old tortoise shell, could have escaped out from a cat flap. What is the strategy the teacher is using here? When she mentioned what 13 refers to. I repeat it. Polly, a 13-year-old tortoise shell, could have escaped out of the cat flap as quick smoke engulfed the rooms. What is the use of 13? Oh, Meletina is on the materials. Tony has already explained to you how to download. Yes, Karin, it's scanning. Thank you. Then let's keep on this one. Look at the following questions, read again, and answer the questions. For example, could Polly have escaped without waking Jean and John? How did Polly wake up Jean? How did Jean react to Polly? In these questions, what is the strategy for the students? Scanning, skimming, or read in detail? What's the ability here? Scanning, skimming, or reading in detail? Scanning, probably read for the gist. That will be a skimming. For example, how did the fire? For example, in number 5, how did the fire start? Scamming, skimming, or reading for detail? The number 4, I think it's a boy, so it's John. Why couldn't John go downstairs? Let's see, Jacqueline, for you, which of the 3 abilities are just there? We don't hear you, Jacqueline.
I'm thinking, teacher.
Oh, okay, okay.
I see details because they have to looking for that information. And but for number 1 is why couldn't Jean go? Yeah, but I think for details.
Karim, what do you think? Well, but Karim has already written there. Carla, what do you think?
In which question, teacher? In some questions?
In all of the questions, in general, what is the ability students are working on?
I think it is reading for detail, reading for specific information.
Yeah, I agree with you and with Jacqueline. Yeah, it's for detail because why couldn't John, excuse me, because it's a boy, go downstairs? How did the fire start? Yeah, I think it's for details too. Now we have more questions here. And then, what are the advantages or disadvantages of keeping pets? This is like an extension, right? To personalize the information the students are given. And that would be it, like how a regular reading lesson should be. Let's recap it. First, you attract the students' attention, personalize, explain some words. Then there is a prediction stage. The students confirm their predictions. Then there is some scanning because they have to quickly find these numbers. For example, in the case of 13 is the age of the tortoise. That's scanning. Then there is some reading for detail with 8 questions. And then there is some extension, the personalizing, advantages and disadvantages of keeping pets. Any questions about this? I'm going to give you a break. We are come back at 7 p.m. Okay, so you have